Hey, what's going on, good family? It is Joseph Trujillo, and we are live and direct. I want to take a minute to welcome everybody to today's masterclass. I'm so excited for this one today, guys. Today's going to be fire. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into concepts that come straight out of my background, military, law enforcement. I'm going to open up some playbook for you guys on a bunch of tactical stuff that really worked for us in executing precision planning, and it applies really directly and specifically to your business and your life. Today's masterclass, the topic is called the economy of motion. The economy of motion, right? So let's break it down. Let's talk about these two words because understanding the definition is really important for us, right? So let's talk about economy, right? Economy means efficiency, management of resources, right? Where you're wasting absolutely nothing in your focused task. So that's what economy means. Now, motion, we all know what motion means, right? To get into action, create movement, to create execution. So when you put these two key terms, these two key words together, you get a very strong principle about operating every step, every decision, every action with intentionality and absolutely zero waste, right? Absolutely zero waste. So I remember when I was in law enforcement in the military, economy of motion sometimes was life or death. It was that significant. And in business, it's also the difference between scaling with clarity or burning out with like absolute chaos. Nobody wants to burn with chaos. So today, in this atmosphere, in this webinar, I want you guys to just step into this session, right? Imagine that we're just cutting away all the noise, all the distractions, all the wasted energy, and really locking in some movement here that moves the needle in your business. So for the next hour, I want you guys to commit, right? This is precision zone. Lock in, right? Think of this as sharpening the edge of every single weapon that you have at your disposal, and every action for this is going to count for you guys. You guys ready to take a deep dive into this? All right, let's get fired up. Pat, go ahead and let's put the presentation on the screen. And as we've been doing for our master classes, as we've done in the past for our iconic success academies, is I love to give you guys handouts and handbooks, right? So make sure you guys, we're going to put a handout in the chat for you guys to take a peek at. So the handout will be coming out here shortly. Pat, let's go ahead and make that happen. And we're going to take a deep dive. So do I have access to the slides? Yes, I do. Economy of motion. Let's break it down. So the first thing that we're going to dive into, guys, is we're going to talk about 6 very strong principles in business, 6 strong principles. I call them tactics that are going to help you eliminate waste. Okay. The first one is just leaning out, right? Who wants to be a lean, mean fighting machine? Let's go. Yes. So whether you're in the gym or you're in your business, running operations that are very lean are so important, right? And let's talk about that in some detail. So I have 3 key points for every principle. So as you guys are writing notes, first thing I want you to write right now is eliminate waste, right? And so the first key term and a coach tie-in, I call coach tie-ins, is like, how is this applicable for me and how I'm going to tie it into business, right? So in the military, you know, a Marine, a soldier, we don't carry extra gear because it slows us down, right? Every single ounce matters when you're in the field. So one thing that we used to do is we used to lean out our bags. We used to lean out our equipment because the more weight you carry, right? Think about it. Think about you and your business, right? The more weight you're carrying on your shoulders, the more likely it is to slow you down. Who agrees with that? You guys put some fires in the chat. Say yes, 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 yes. So a couple key insights as it relates to leaning out is like cluttering your business. Cluttering your business. So cluttering in your business can look like many different things. In real estate, one hyper clutter location is usually like our CRM, right? Like, what does your CRM look like as you open it up? Is it full of a bunch of mislabeled leads that you can't really even start to put together as it relates to assignments and communications, right? Do you have all of your sphere of influence in one group? Do you have all your new leads in one group? Do you have all your prospects in one group? What does that look like? Because when you have clutter in your business team, you guys are creating confusion in your execution, right? I'm gonna say that one more time. When you have clutter in your business, you're creating confusion in your execution. So be mindful of the waste that you have in some of your systems, okay? Business tactic. I want you guys to really audit your systems, right? These are your tangible takeaways. Audit your business systems. What are your key 3 systems right now that you need to look into where you can start to do things like cutting out software? Maybe it's unnecessary subscriptions, right? I just ran through this personally with subscriptions at the beginning of the year. I literally eliminated about $300 worth of subscriptions, $300 of unnecessary subscriptions, right? Over the course of a year, that's $3,600, $3,600 that I can apply toward more lead generation, more systems, maybe more efficiency in my business, right? More marketing and branding. So that way I create profitable returns on my investment. Okay. The next thing I really want you guys to take a look at in your systems are your workflows, right? Like, where are your workflows? Many of you are probably looking at me kind of crazy on this call. Like, what is a workflow, right? So over the years, I've used Monday.com to create workflows. Take a look at that. I don't get paid for it, but take a look. They have great workflow systems, Monday.com, where I can see how I'm moving, like a lead, for example, right? I have a buyer lead, how I'm moving them through the process where I have the consultation. Now I introduce them to the lender, and I'm really creating a workflow that provides a clarity in where I'm at in that relationship with that particular lead. So you should have workflows for every major facet of your business. Okay. Now, here's the thing with workflow, subscriptions, and software. If they don't directly drive revenue or efficiency, get rid of it, right? If they don't provide revenue or efficiency, get rid of it. So take a look at those, and it's a simple question. All right, did I earn revenue from this in the last 6 months? If you did, categorize it. You should have a category of all your investments so you can see very specifically which ones are providing an ROI. So you need to run lean and very, very agile. So as you review that, right? So you're taking a look at your tools, your monthly expenses, you're creating like this really lean process in your business. And now you're actually enabling yourself to replace like complexities, right? What looks like a mess, right? To simplicity and operating really fast. I even like this for like our physical environments, right? When you walk into a physical environment and you're working and there's clutter everywhere, it's very distracting. Would you guys agree? Absolutely. It's very distracting. So you also want to make sure that your environments, your work environment, that it's clean, that it's lean, that it enables you to focus on your tasks at hand. All right, let's go. All right. And for that first point, here's a quote that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. In times that we're experiencing right now, right? In 2025, in the present modern day real estate market, wait is going to slow you guys down. Wait is going to kill your business opportunity. So you need to strip that down to what's actually winning your battles. So take a look at that, guys, right? Eliminate waste. As you guys go through this, again, we're live, guys. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram, YouTube. Everybody, you guys are welcome to tap in. Put some questions in the comment boxes. I'm going to come back to them at the end of this period of instruction to make sure you guys walk away, again, with some super clarity and information. So just to tie in the eliminate waste topic number 1, here's an ask that I'm going to ask you guys. Now write this down because this is your homework for you guys to really create impact in your business. Okay. I want you guys to do that audit and identify which subscriptions, which tools can you cancel today, not tomorrow, today, without affecting your results for your business. Again, I shared a real world example with you guys on how I personally did that, saved $3,600 and started to utilize that money more efficiently. I encourage you guys to take that same approach in your business today. Sounds great? All right, let's go. I'm fired up, guys. And by the way, I'm dealing with like a day cold, which is kind of weird. It's always weird to have a summer cold when it's hot, But as you guys can see, I got my energy flowing. My wife gave me this Focus energy drink from Live Pure. It has me absolutely ready for this conversation. So I hope you guys are feeling the energy through these channels. All right, let's move on to number 2. Tactic number 2, SOPs. How many of you guys use SOPs in your business? Somebody guys put a comment in the chat, put a fire, let me know that you're doing it. SOPs in your business. All right, let's go. What are SOPs? They're standard operating procedures, guys, right? These were very, very common in government service, very common in the military. You need to have a plan, right? You need to have clear systems that allow your business, that allow your mission to scale beyond you. Without an SOP, you're really just kind of operating in the dark and winging things. Would you guys agree? Absolutely. All right. So the coach tie-in is in the military and in law enforcement, when we would have units, right? We would mostly operate in small groups, small teams, environments. And every time that we moved, we were able to move with precision because it was very standardized, right? There was no guessing what our role or our contribution was to the team, right? So if I was the point man, I knew that I was point. If I was the guy covering 6 way at the rear, I knew that that was my job. It was very detailed. I didn't have to guess on how I was going to apply my skills to gain that mission, if that makes sense to you guys, right? So I'm speaking to all you team leaders out there, broker owners, team leaders, people that are really generating movement in your organization. Is having SOPs for your team is absolutely paramount, right? Everybody needs to know their role, what the objective is, how do they get to that very specific goal in mind. And then it gets really specific, right? You get the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s within the SOPs that really give you a plan of action instead of just throwing crap on the wall and hoping that it sticks, right? Yes, I love that. Thank you guys for the comments and the messages. Appreciate you guys. So that's the coach tie-in. Take a snapshot of that because that will really help you guys in determining how you guys start to move in your business, okay? Now, tactically in business, how does this apply? You need to create clear, repeatable SOPs for every system that you got, right? We just talked about leaning out your systems. You've leaned them out. Next step is SOPs. You should have a very standardized SOP for your CRM procedures. So, and it's easy, guys. Now with ChatGPT, all of the AI systems, go in there, ask it the right questions, and have it help you generate an SOP that's very specific for you and your business, right? Get that standardized document. Don't print it out and leave it on your desk. Print it out, review it, and really start to dive into it and have the visual, the plan for you to be able to create that fulfillment in your business. I'm telling you, with you documenting these processes, it's going to protect you from making mistakes in your business, right? SOPs will help you create knowledge and really repeatable asset creation for your guys' business. And then more importantly, what I love about SOPs is, aside from the confusion, you're going to start saving like the things that you want to save, like time, right? You're going to save time. You're going to see scalability. And then do not forget to track and measure the results of these SOPs. So take a look, try it for 30 days. And if it seems a little overwhelming, it's okay, right? SOPs can be a little clunky at times because it's a bunch of documents that infer or relate to a very specific part of your business. I would encourage you, just do the simple approach, right? Simple approach. Create a small 3-page SOP for one of your most important business verticals and start there. And once you see how it works together in sync, now you can start to add it to other facets of your guys' business. Does that make sense? All right, let's go. All right, so my quote for this is something that we used to share in our settings as confusion creates casualties, right? Confusion creates casualties. So when you have a confused environment, you're going to start to lose something. For us, it was loss of life. For you guys, it could be loss of opportunity, loss of leads, loss of growth. So SOPs will create that consistency for you guys. So my student application for you guys for this very specific principle is, what's a task, right, that you're doing weekly that you should already have a playbook for? What's a task, and write this down. What's a task that you should be doing weekly, that you're doing weekly, that you should have a playbook for? Or maybe it's daily, right? I remember hearing multitude of times from different coaches, like once you do something 2 or 3 times, you need to create a system for it, right? Once you've done a process 2 or 3 times, you need to create a system for it. So keep that in mind. If you have to systematize these tasks, so that way you create, again, this consistency and time efficiency in your business. Good to go? All right. I appreciate you. All right, next principle. Let's move it on. We're on 3 of 6, guys. We are on 3 of 6. Again, everybody that's tuning in live, feel free to comment, question, add some any questions that you guys may have. Let's get fired up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Anybody have any questions for the first 2 principles and tactics? Feel free to tap them into the comments. If not, we'll get fired away. We'll continue on with tactic number 3, and it's creating high value targets. How many of you guys ever watch CNN or a news channel, right? And I think recently, with some of the events that are happening globally, you'll hear this term in military application, high value targets. That means that people are aiming for the biggest bang for their buck, essentially, right? And so there's a real strong 80-20 rule as it relates to prioritizing your high value targets, right? Prioritizing your high value targets. So what does this look like, right? And before I do the coach tie-in, I'm actually going to go right to the business tactic, is identifying in your business, and let's talk about clients, right? Identifying the 20% of clients or offers or sources that generate 80% of the revenue, and then starting to double down there. So you're really looking at, like, where's the meat? Like, where's the juice coming from in my business? So I'll give you a real world example for me personally, right? In my production business this year, it may be upwards of 80%, but I know with absolute certainty, 80 to 90% of all of my transactional business this year has come from one very specific source: veterans, right? Me helping veterans. It's a community that, of course, I resonate with, but also I've literally spent so much time in mastering my craft in that space that I'm really able to provide the highest form of value, and the feedback that I get from those type of clienteles is really humbling. But I know that that is the source that I can spend my most time in and create the most opportunity. So if I personally was going to identify a client or a very specific offer type or source, for me, that would be veteran buyers, veteran sellers, okay? Especially in the multi-unit space. And now I can double down there, right? Now I have proven in this community that I can get the job done. And now I can create duplication in other communities from that. So I challenge you guys, like, what area in your business is one that you can focus on where 80% of the revenue is coming from? And yes, and usually that's a very low percentage of clients that or sources that you'll be able to identify. Okay, make sense? Now the coach tie-in is so important, guys. So important is not to engage every time, right? Do not engage every time. You have to neutralize the highest targets first. So somebody share in the comment box what I mean by that. Not engaging every time. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about right there. It means that you may not take every call. You might not entertain every opportunity, right? Not every client deserves equal time. And I hate to say that, but it's true, right? Not every client deserves equal time. We need to prioritize those that are going to really move the needle. So as you as agents or entrepreneurs, you're going through conversations, you really need to quickly identify, okay, is this a needle mover? All right, let me categorize them and put them into an action plan that or a workflow, right? That I need to pay attention to here in either ASAP or in the next 7 to 10 days because it's going to generate a revenue stream, right? Or is this a client that is more like a 30 to 60 day, 90-day game plan? They're not pre-approved. They're not ready to rock. They still need to get everything going. All right, it's okay. I'm going to categorize them in that. And then I may have some long-term, right? I may have long-term clientele that is 90 days plus. They're a long-term. I'm going to still nurture those in my CRM because I have them categorized, because I have them in workflow. So you got to be able to put these clients sometimes into different boxes because not everyone is going to be the same, right? So keep in mind, your best opportunities often come from your best existing relationships. Your best existing relationships. Just yesterday, I took 2 personal calls from past clients, past relationships that created an opportunity in me and my wife's business verticals, right? And that came from nurturing long-term relationships because the best existing ones are the ones that are going to always bear more fruit because you're watering more, right? You're creating more opportunity. So that's really, really important to know. Now, if you don't have relationships, you're just coming into real estate, well, here's your opportunity to start to create those, right? Start to create those relationships that'll definitely create last a lifetime and create more opportunity and conversations for you. Hope that makes sense. Okay, one last thing I want you guys to take away from prioritizing high value targets is it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. Okay, it's just as powerful as saying yes sometimes. So as you're going through conversations of opportunities, right? Lead flows, maybe it's agent relationships, whatever it is that you're focusing on, there are times where it's just not a good fit, right? And you have to say no and maybe refer them out or maybe put them in touch with somebody who's taking on that very specific business type. So then that way you can move on and stay focused on the priority at hand. Because here's one thing that I've learned, team, is when you're unfocused on 2 different missions, you will be sidetracked. Okay. Yeah. When I was in my teams, when we were traveling, we would be like, all right, I don't care what you're going through at home. I don't care if you're going through a divorce. And it was this rough sometimes. I don't care if you guys are experiencing something in your life. Like right now is zone time. You need to like drop all the madness, right? If you go into prayer, great. If whatever it is that you needed to do to be hyper focused on the mission, that is what we were focused on. There was absolutely no way that we were going to think of any other objective other than getting the job done. Actually, I love it. I was just reading it the other day. I love it in the Bible. I believe it's in the book of James, where they're talking about being double-minded, right? Double-minded, being just like unstable when you're in that space, right? Like in faith, sometimes people may go from faith to not being in faith. And so you're kind of like at this crossroads and you're not really able to move forward and push the needle. So that's also a really great application when you think about like, okay, what is double-mindedness? Am I double focused? Am I double prioritized? You really need to lean that in and just kind of get sight on your target so that way you can execute most effectively. All right, I love it. And we're doing good on time. This is fire. All right, let's go on to, I don't think I shared the quote with you guys for this one. So the quote for prioritizing high value targets is spray and pray is for amateurs. Now, what does that mean? For any of you guys that were in the military or ever have done any shooting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Spray and pray means essentially when like you're, let's say like for high caliber weapons, right? You're shooting a machine gun, right? Or a shotgun and you're shooting a target, it sprays across a target board, right? And you're praying that you're hitting center mass. You're praying that you're hitting the target, right? Precision, guys. I gave this class just a few weeks ago. Precision targeting creates domination. Be so precise in your objectives, that your high value targets always get hit. So high targets always get hit. All right, let's move on. Tactic number 4. Tactic number 4 is called speed of execution. Speed of execution. How many of you guys have heard of speed to lead? Speed to lead. Anybody? Any of my Zillow Flex people out there? Yes. So in some lead environments, we certainly have one at our Zillow Flex team out here in Rancho Cucamonga. These leads come into us, right? Because through my partner Fadi, we have an opportunity for agents to be able to enhance their business through leads. And we get these leads from Zillow. And when these leads come in, sometimes they get dispersed to multiple agents at the same time. So speed to lead means like who's going to pick up that call, who's going to provide fast execution to create that opportunity, right? So you can imagine when your phone rings, you're picking up that phone as fast as you can to execute a relationship that will lead into a buyer or seller transaction. So speed of execution is so important. One thing about tactically, when you think about speed of execution is, and this I was taught very early this in my career, was sometimes doing something fast is better than trying to do it perfect later, right? Doing something fast now, getting an execution is better than trying to perfect it later down the road. But again, of course, that all depends on the task at hand. But in combat, I'm telling you, when we delay, it's deadly. People lose lives when you sleep, when you overthink, when you start to doubt what's happening in your mind. Your decisions need to be made and they need to be acted quickly on, right? So for some of you, I just had this happen a couple of weeks ago with one of my buyer's agents. Sent that agent out to do a buyer showing for me, and this was on a Sunday. By the time the agent communicated with me on Monday that the client wanted to submit an offer that he was highly qualified for, it was too late. It was too late. By the time those 8 hours came from 8 o'clock, it was 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock, or it's actually 12 hours, 7 o'clock the next morning, that home was already in escrow. They reviewed offers that night. So everything that you guys do in real estate, write this down. Everything that I do is urgent. Everything that I do is urgent, especially if it moves the needles towards earning income, right? Your client wants to submit an offer. You do not wait for tomorrow. You write that offer now. You get it prepped, ready to go, and submit it, right? Do not wait. Also, be cognizant, be careful about what you're told, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes, right, as buyer's agents, I'm speaking to my buyer's agents out there, you're trying to get intel, and we'll be talking about that here shortly, right? You're trying to get intel from the listing agent. The listing agent says, yeah, we're not going to review offers until Monday or Tuesday. So you think, right, that you have time. You think that you have time, so you delay in writing the offer. You delay in writing the offer and then submitting it. Now, two things happen in that space. One is you give your client an opportunity to maybe them to overthink, wow, maybe I should be looking at other opportunities, other homes before I sign off on this paperwork. No, get the offer written. Your client wants to submit an offer, get it done. Secondly, get it submitted in a timely fashion. I know the listing agent told you they're not going to review it until Tuesday or Monday, but make sure that that thing gets submitted in a timely fashion, so then that way it's in hand and available for them to review with the seller. I don't know how many times people will move that needle forward and they'll present what they have ahead of time because they have favorability in what they have in hand. So be careful when you delay in your business. So important that execution is done with speed and accuracy. Make sense? All right. Now, business and tactically, right? You want to make sure that in your culture, in your environment, you're in a space where speed is going to beat perfection. Speed is going to beat perfection. So continue to be fast, test, reiterate instead of over planning, right? Fast, test, and reiterate instead of over planning. Now that comes that can be tactically applied in a bunch of different facets. But one thing that stands out to me is like, what is your your speed of lead, like sometimes I will notice that people won't take calls or they won't jump on an opportunity because they feel like they're unprepared, quote unquote, right? They're unprepared. They don't know the script. Maybe they're not familiar with the asset. There's a multitude of reasons why people sometimes want to sit back and prepare before they take on the call, before they take on the opportunity. My best advice in those scenarios is it's a simple plan. If you're going to lose that opportunity, take the call, right? If you're going to lose that opportunity, take the call, gather information, be an agent of information, an agent of value, gather, take the call, and then you can always plan a secondary call or a follow-up meeting so that way you can better prepare after you've initially taken on the speed of that opportunity. So that what that'll also do is that'll also help create momentum in your business, momentum in your business. And Pat, if we could, for all of these key terms, my friend, let's make sure we get some banners up for everybody so they can write down as well. That'd be awesome, please. With that momentum piece that I was talking about, so important as it relates to speed because it kind of goes hand in hand is having momentum in your business. That those action steps really will reveal like what's next for you, right? It'll reveal opportunities for you, but you won't identify those. Or it's almost like having blinders. You won't see them unless you're in momentum, right? One tactical kind of real world example that I think about is like doing like trial tests, right? Like for those of us that are on Instagram, I know many of you guys are watching this. Like, how many of you guys are using the trial reels? Trial reels. Take a look at it. It's a feature on IG. I've been using it, and it's really awesome for me to be able to like instead of overthinking a reel, like wow, this really isn't very finished or refined, or I don't know how I feel about it. I'm able to put it in the trial and let it go out in the atmosphere and kind of create an observation of engagement and see very quickly, okay, wow, after a day or two, this reel, although I didn't think that it was going to be fire, is picking up momentum. So now I can move that and let it go live like on my IG. But it's a great example of how you can really just create that execution, get in momentum, see what's happening, and then move on to the next phase in your business planning for execution. Does that make sense, team? Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Yes, yes. Thank you. All right. I shared it, right? Here's the quote. Procrastination kills. Procrastination kills. I used to train my agents, and we talked about this for real life examples, right? If you don't take the shot, somebody can get hurt. If you don't take the shot, somebody else can get killed. So execution will always outrun hesitation every single time. Do not hesitate to take the shot in your business. Make sense? All right, let's go. I'm excited, guys. We are moving on to number five, the fifth tactic. And this one is, each one is just adding layers on top of each other. You guys see how this is working? Adding layers. So this is, we're talking about force multipliers. Force multipliers. Essentially what it is when you start to add multiple layers to something to create maximum leverage, force multipliers, right? So I don't know how many times I hear agents say, oh, I need more days, I need more hours, I need more this, I need more that, right? You don't need anything more than what God has already given you, right? You do not need anything more other than in business to create more leverage by learning what you're doing, by creating these systems and layers of opportunity. We call them force multipliers in the military. So I'll give you a real world example, right? So as a coach tie-in, again, when we would operate in our units, get this visual in your head. Imagine like a soldier, right? Or somebody out in the field. Maybe you're even going on a hike or doing some like reconnaissance or scouting, whatever that looks like. And you're out by yourself and you're just kind of walking in this desert or forest and you're just alone, right? And you're out there trying to gather intelligence or do an assessment of the landscape, right? Think about like real estate. You're just a solo agent and you're trying to figure out everything that's happening in your market without really looking at any other tie-ins, your ability to capture intelligence or information is going to be significantly limited. Agreed? Yes. But with a small unit, with starting to tie in force multipliers like a drone, right? Something that has that 30,000 foot view of what's happening below you, the landscape, air support, intelligence will be 10 times plus stronger because you've initiated force multipliers in your business. So it's so powerful. Now, how can we introduce force multipliers in real estate, right? We talked about leverage. Now, here's one thing that I keep seeing over and over again, and it's the reason why we invested very heavily into our time and our resources into creating outlets for entrepreneurs, realtors, and such is like virtual assistants team, virtual assistants. So important to be able to create leverage in your business where you can focus on money making activities and really start to leverage your time by assigning those tasks to somebody else that could do them at a very profitable return on your investment of time and effort and money. Does that make sense? Yes. Because the number one thing that agents do is you guys trade time for money, right? You stay over focused on doing minutia work that you can be delegating to somebody else that is so cost effective for you in the return of your time, in the return of the things that you need to be doing in your business. So virtual assistance is such a key component. Reach out to me after this class. There'll be a QR code where you can learn a little bit more. I'll give you guys a free download on it, but just schedule a call with me or my team, and we'll break you guys down on real case examples on how you guys can leverage VAs in your business to create scalability. Okay. The other elements where you can really create leverage is automation. Automation. Like, how many of you guys are using your CRM to its absolute potential, where it's auto texting, auto emailing, auto replying to your leads, right? Very few. I'm telling you, very few of you are using campaigns so efficiently where you can start to see this lead start to develop, and now you can interject at the right time. You can interject when they're putting emojis on very specific homes. Like, you don't have to wait for them to reach out to you, but you're monitoring your business with such clarity that you can see a breaking point where there's a step in, right? There's a pivot point where you can be like, all right, now the human element needs to step into this automation. And now I can tie all this in, and I'm effectively using my technology, my systems to move that client down the road to a successful sale or conversion. Okay. So be mindful of that. Systems, partnerships, multiply your output without multiplying your effort, right? We only have a certain amount of time, certain amount of hours per day. The only way to create that, get that back, is to create leverage in your business, guys. Okay. So the execution of this stuff, I'm telling you, it's a competitive advantage that most people ignore. Most agents are solo agents just trying to knock out every facet of your business. It is a daunting task that leads down a road of burnout. Seen it time and time again. I've experienced it time and time again. So if you need a business, a coaching element to get into conversation to see what that looks like for you, whether you're watching this live now or you guys see this this YouTube video, reach out to me and my team. Would absolutely love to connect with you guys and show you guys how we've created leverage for that. Okay. And my quote for this is the warrior. You guys are business warriors, right? Business warriors. The warrior with leverage is always stronger than the warrior with hustle. Okay. I love the hustle. I love the bustle. But if that's all you're leaning on, if that's your hashtag and it actually has no action behind it, it has no leverage behind it, then it's just a quick way to burn out. Just a quick way to burn out. It's no different than starting like a fire, right? How many of you guys have started? I'm probably talking to more of my outdoorsy people out there, but if you ever start a fire with too much fuel, it burns out faster than starting it with a slow timber. Okay. It burns out faster than with the slow timber. That fuel, right? That over fueling is like you hustling, 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 instead of creating leverage that has time and patience, that slowly burns, that creates a larger fire. So keep that in mind as you're starting to apply some of these tactics into your business, All right, guys, we are moving fast. So excited. Yes, ma'am. Leverage is wisdom. I love that. And we are on our tactic of debrief and adapt. Debrief and adapt. In the comments section, if anybody knows, what does AAR stand for? Anybody know? I got a quiz, pop-up quiz right there. Pop-up quiz. AAR. Come on, baby. It stands for an after action report. After action report. Now, quick story time. When I was in my other line of business, whether it was military or in a law enforcement setting, every single time we did something, we had a brief and we always had a debrief, right? We always had an after action report every single time. So what that means is we would review the scenario. We would go back and have a conversation about every single person that played a role in that and what were our learning objectives, right? What were our learning objectives? What were things that we can improve on? How could we better prepare ourselves for the next similar mission? The reason why that's so important is because when you really start to debrief um, the simplest things, maybe it's like presentations, right? Imagine for all my listing agents out there, every time you go on a listing agent, are you reeling it back, coming back, sitting down and saying, all right, that was fantastic. However, where can I improve, right? What are areas of that conversation where I felt a void, or maybe it didn't flow as naturally or as it should have? Or in the event that you didn't get the listing, like what went wrong there? That requires a very specific time allocation in your business where you need to review everything from your campaigns, social media, right? Your launches, your transactions, every lesson, adapt and be able to sharpen up for the next round, right? I used to do this with one of my partners, Decatur. I don't know if he's on the call listening globally or wherever you're at, D. But we would submit offers, right? Because we were operating as a team for many years, and when we would submit offers on like clients that we were co-representing, if we didn't get the offer accepted, we'd run it back and we would have a conversation about it and be like, "Hey, bro, like what happened here? Like, let's look at the email that went out. What were the supplements that went in? What were the simple requests from the listing agent in the MLS on how they wanted this offer to be presented?" Like all of those little small details, I'm telling you, they matter. But if you don't go back and review this information, then you're going to continue to do the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And you'll find yourself catching more L's, more losses than you would have catching more wins. Does that make sense, team? Am I talking to you guys? You guys are understanding what I'm sharing here? So again, run reviews. I think another really great way, a little hack, is for those of you that are paying a lot of attention to your social media. Like, are you guys reviewing your campaigns? Right. The other day, my wife shared with me some of her social media accomplishments and campaigns and where she's seen growth. And even via text, we were just kind of sharing with each other, like, wow, like take a look at where we've seen growth because we had momentum, we had action, we were putting out content that was really engaging with people. So it created what was, yet to come is like a thought and a process and maybe a workflow where, all right, like how do we create duplication in that area of growth? Because we're reviewing the information, we're reviewing the intelligence that we're all able to receive as it relates to our business, right? So here's your guys' tasking, right? So for debrief and adaptability after action reviews, I want you guys to really dive in where every campaign is intelligence gathering, and you're either creating a win or a loss from it, right? A win or a loss. There are times when we're going to lose. There are times where we failed a mission, where we didn't reach our objectives, and that's okay, right? I think the strongest points in life are when you lose and then you learn how to regain that by applying different measures in the future. Does that make sense? So it's okay to be transparent with each other and create an environment where we're learning. Like, hey, even in great counsel and in wisdom, for those of you that are on teams, like, are you going back to your team leader, or maybe it's somebody in your office that has been in real estate a long time and saying, hey, my friend, could you review this for me? Like, I did this listing presentation, and this is what my presentation looks like, maybe, and I'm just not winning every time I'm doing this. Like, where can I create more opportunity in what I'm doing here? And you'll be surprised how much time people will actually pour into you. So then that way you can get in an environment of opportunity. Certainly happens in our culture. Would encourage you guys to continue to stay in those spaces. Okay. Next key insight I want to share with you is, as it relates to debriefing and adaptability, is learning, taking the learning curve and really applying it when it's written, shared, and applied, right? And what I mean by that is, sometimes we keep everything up here in the dome. We keep everything in thought, in mind. Like, put pen to paper, guys, right? Put pen to paper. I almost always, when I'm working, I have like this sheet. And as I have these ideas or implementations that I want to apply, I put it down and I write it. All of you should be doing that. Like, write something so that way you have this tangible application. More people sometimes find a way to retain when they write than they do when they think, and they try to keep it up here in the brain housing group. So, and then secondly, share it, right? It also gets really sticky when you share it, right? So like with me and my VA, sometimes I'll have a thought, and whether I get to write it down or not, I think it's already happened twice this morning. I'll send a quick message out, right? In our communications, I'll say, hey, remind me to circle back on A, B, and C. And then it's acknowledged. So now it's shared, and now I have accountability. Now it is more embedded in my mind for me to be able to follow up and review. And then lastly is the application of it, right? The other two mean absolutely nothing if you don't get in action and apply it. So make sure you go back to what you've written, to what you've shared, and be like, all right, let's review this. How do we get it applied in our business ASAP? So we start to move that needle forward and really start to create this economy of motion. Economy of motion, so important, right? And then adaptability is another really strong key term when it relates to after action reviews. So adaptability, being able to adapt to an environment or a process, is way better than trying to be perfection, especially in fast changing markets, right? Especially in fast changing markets. I'm telling you guys, this is my input on what we're seeing in the market. The 2025 market doesn't look like the 23-24 market, right? The 26 market is going to look different. Like, you guys got to be so on your toes. You got to be able to pivot into the next market spaces for you to be able to adapt into what's happening and stay tactically aligned for changes that's occurring in the market. So be careful in fast changing markets that you don't get your feet planted, right? Stay on your toes, right? Just like a good boxer, right? A good boxer always stays on their toes. They're always moving very swiftly, because if you get caught flat-footed and you catch a punch, there's a good likelihood you're going to go down for the count. So be careful about that, right? So discussion prompt for you guys is, write this down. Like, when was the last time? All right. And be honest with yourself, right? This is a webinar, team. This is not an engagement, right? But when was the last time that you had a debrief in your own business? When was the last time you took a look at something tactically that you've done? And then more importantly, what did you learn, right? What did you learn from that? Did you draw away some strong after action that you can apply for the next event? that you can apply for the next event. So important. If you're able to take a look at that. Now, the coach tie-in is that every assignment ends with a debrief, right? That's the tie-in. It's absolutely mandatory. If you walk away from anything about this class, about economy of motion, it is that every time you need to debrief. What worked? What failed? How did you adapt to what occurred? The learning objectives of tying in this kind of information is so important, team. Because when we think about economy of motion, you think about doing things so that you don't waste time, right? I even apply it here in my everyday life, right? The most simplest task that you're performing, right? Like, for example, like if you have to carry 2 or 3 items from the first floor of your home to the second floor, are you going and picking up one item at a time and walking up these stairs unnecessarily? Or are you moving so economically that you're picking up all 3 items at once so you accomplish your task fluidly and get to that second floor? Think about how that can apply in your business where you're just, again, moving very fluidly. Maybe that's schedules. Oh my gosh. Like in scheduling, you're scheduling buyer showings or you're scheduling appointments. Like, is your economy of motion fluid? Are you scheduling based on location where you can get from point A to point B to point C with the least amount of time, with the least amount of miles, so you buy back more time in your business? Are you? If you're not, then certainly this class here will be able to give you guys some really strong application for that. Okay. Now, the quote for this principle is that every battle is intelligence. Every battle is intelligence, right? The elite performers don't repeat mistakes. You weaponize them. You weaponize them, meaning the mistakes you learn from, right? And then you implement them in the next mission, in the next appointment, in the next presentation. So that way you're not repeating mistakes and you're moving more fluidly, moving more fluidly. Okay. So, be cognizant about that as it relates to real estate team. Like, I really want you guys to weaponize your arsenal. Every element of your business should be so refined where as you're moving from opportunity to opportunity, you already have the buckets filled, right? Today, yes, you may be focused on doing buyer showings, but you get hit with a curveball, and I know this happens to us in real estate, right? You get hit with a curveball, an opportunity presents itself, and somebody wants a listing presentation or a listing appointment later on this evening, right? You take massive action, you jump into it, but because you weaponize your systems, you're prepared. You have a standardized SOP, you have a standardized presentation, so that way you can walk into that appointment very knowledgeable, very composed, very ready for the next step and the opportunity, and you don't delay and you don't put that appointment off for a later time. It's a really powerful way on how you guys can really stay engaged and really create some dynamics in your business, right? So this is a contact me page for those of you guys that are tuning in or that you're watching. I know our live IG, we're streaming live and direct on our Dream Chaser page. But if you guys want to give me a follow on my personal page, feel free. And that QR code right there, team, go ahead and scan it, right? If you scan that QR code, it'll lead you to my landing page. And there's some really really great nuggets down at the bottom of that page. One, of course, you guys can always connect with me if you're looking to have conversations about real estate. If you're looking to have conversations about like, wow, how's Joseph and his team really leveraging virtual assistants? There's a social media element or ebook in there that you guys can really have some tangibles that you can take away with that are really dynamic. So make sure you guys scan that, get in contact, get in flow. At a minimum, reach out on IG and just be like, just give me some feedback, right? If this class was resonating with you guys, put it in the chat here, in the messages, drop some fires, and you be like, hey Joe, this is my takeaway. This is what I learned from this class, from this conversation with you guys. So any comments? Let's open it up. Any comments, questions, any takeaways before we close out this real dynamic class that we had today? What stood out, team? All right. Thank you, Javi. I appreciate you. Rick, Trisha, much love. Thank you guys for tuning in. So let's draw a close on this. And if any other questions pop up, we'll definitely address them. But remember, economy of motion, guys, right? It's not about you doing more. That's burnout, right? It's about you doing actually less, but with greater impact. You're doing less, but with greater impact. So you don't need more hours in the day. You don't need more hustle. You don't need more noise. You need precision, right? Strip away the unnecessary, systematize your actions, and start focusing on these high value targets. High value targets. Move with the speed, move with efficiency, leverage those force multipliers that we talked about, right? And never stop debriefing and adapting to what you've learned in your business. I'm telling you, if you live this way, if you lead this way, you'll stop chasing busyness, right? Busyness, and you'll really start to command what you're really looking for in your business. So I hope that these 6 tactics, these principles that we unpack today, that you're able to ask yourself, like, where am I wasting motion that is wasting money, that is not moving the needle, and where can I really sharpen my focus? Because us as entrepreneurs team, we're leaders, right? And the leaders that I see growing are the ones that are mastering not just the economy of motion, they're mastering the economy of their time. They're not just surviving in marketplace, they're really dominating it. So be prepared, stay in this environment, stay in this mindset with me. And I look forward to connecting with you guys on the next masterclass. I appreciate everything that we're doing here collectively as a team and as a unit. And share this with somebody. Share this with somebody that you feel that can learn and grow from this powerful insight. Again, with my 25 years of government service, I've really taken a deep dive and pulled out nuggets in my learning to be able to bring to you guys in real estate. So you guys have an amazing day. Stay blessed out there. Stay focused. Go out there and crush it. And we'll see you guys at the next masterclass next Tuesday, 10 a.m. sharp.